only Ashwin, you can actually drink with in between the Zoom presentation. You know, otherwise, other than you, you do that, you might get caught.
Oh ya, betul juga kan?
Kalau recorded pasal minum lah ni.
Kalau kita terlupa kan, tiba-tiba ada pula. Kantor in front of YouTube, in front of everyone. Okay.
Am I supposed to see nothing? Somehow I'm...
Oh, you don't see anything?
Yes.
We see you, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right.
Ada. Okay. I'll start broadcasting now so we can see the attendees. Okay, we're about to start, but we'll wait just a few more minutes, 5 minutes. I can see a few attendees in already. Mr. Chan is in. Hi, Mr. Chan. Nicolette again. Hi, Nicolette. Good to see you. Hi, Rose. Emilia, your staff is here. Trisha from PSEP is here. Mr. Tristan is also here, and Yasmin. Hi, Yasmin. Hello, everyone from Yasmin. Jason is also here. Hi, Jason. Oh, there's someone from YouTube that says, hi from Singapore, Joyce Lim.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Joyce.
Hi, Joyce.
I see Mei Ping is also here. Hi, Mei Ping. I see her name here. Hello from Sarawak, from Farah Zawani. Hi, Farah. Bilal from KL. For the moment, stuck in Chicago, USA. Okay. Hi, Bilal. Or Billy. Billy B. Okay, we have about 3 minutes before we start. Let's just wait for a few more people. The late birds. Laura and Anthony from KL. Hi, both of you. Norisma from MySep. Hi, Norisma. Your staff ke Datuk Sri?
Yeah, exhibition lady.
Oh, here ke?
She is focusing on exhibition.
Okay, so besok will be relevant to her, the Masio session.
Right.
Mona, once they start asking questions, right?
Yep.
So do I get a screen that pops up on the side? Usually I do have a screen, but on this time around, I do not see a side screen.
You can click on the Q&A at the bottom. Is there a Q&A at the bottom of your screen?
Okay, so, all right.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
Yep. So the Q&A will be there. So even those from YouTube, you can ask questions and we will be able to receive it here.
Okay.
Okay. We've got about 40 participants in Zoom, and on YouTube will be a different number. I can't see the number on YouTube, but we've got more. Okay, let's start the show. Diana from ICA Asia Pacific. Hi, Diana. Noor, this one your staff lah ni.
Yes, my team.
Alright. Okay, hello everyone. A very good morning to all, and welcome to the Tuesday Talk Live. My name is Mona Abdul Manap, and I will be the host for today. And the Tuesday Talk Live is a platform created by Place Borneo for us to share ideas, insights, experiences, and anything. So you can ask questions, or you can also put in some of your own suggestions later. How this works is we're going to have a few speakers, and we're just going to have a discussion with them. You can ask them questions. Those on Zoom, you can ask them on Zoom itself on Q&A. And those on YouTube, you can also ask your questions right there on the YouTube chat, and we will be able to receive it as well. Now, this session, this particular edition that we have today is very, very special. We are collaborating with MASIOS, or the Malaysian Association of Convention and Exhibition Organizers and Suppliers, or MASIOS in short. We're collaborating with them to get some of the key people in our industry, in the business events industry. And these people are heads of the convention bureaus, our tourism board, and also an international association, and they will have the data and insights of the business events industry. Especially at these difficult times, I would say we need a lot of data or some ideas on how to start our recovery plan. And these are the people who may be able to push you in the right direction. And by having all this data, they have a whole team doing research for them. And this is the time for us to benefit from it so that later on, post MCO or wherever we start, we can hit the ground running. So the speakers today, we've got all the top guns in the industry. First of all, we've got Datuk Sri Abdul Ghani bin Daud, the CEO of the Malaysia Convention and Exhibition Bureau. And he'll be talking from the national perspective and in terms of the brand for the destination as a BE destination, maybe about bidding, how the national arena is for the business events. Next, we have Ashwin Gunasekaran, the CEO of the Penang Convention and Exhibition Bureau. It will be interesting to learn how the northern part of Malaysia is doing it, Penang, and maybe we can learn a thing or two from them. Next one is a bit closer to home, Emilia Rosiman, Acting CEO of Sarawak Convention Bureau, also known as Business Events Sarawak. And she'll be sharing with us on the Sarawak perspective. I think they've got a few plans in the pipeline. I think it'll be quite interesting for us to learn. Next one, we have Noreda Othman from the, she is the General Manager of the Sabah Tourism Board. And the MICE division, or the Business Events division, is under the Tourism Board. So she's overlooking both tourism and business events. Both of them are pretty much complementing each other. So it will be quite interesting because from Sabah point of view, they are actually very big on tourism. So how do they see this affecting and how do they see it recovering? Last but not least, dear friend, Mr. Noor Ahmad Hamid, he is the Regional Director of Asia Pacific, the International Congress and Convention Association, or ICA. He will have a lot of data on the associations and the events that they run the whole world and the worldwide. So this is quite interesting for us doing a lot of association business. And how do we fit into how the associations see the industry going? How do we fit our plan into that? So I think it'll be quite interesting to see what he has got to share with us. All right, so we'll get the show started with Datuk Sri Ghani to give a bit of an introduction or roundup of what he has today. Okay, Datuk Sri, the floor is yours.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning. First of all, thanks to Mona from Borneo, Place Borneo, for organizing this webinar. And also, I'm very honored to join our distinguished panel today, whom some of them I know quite well, especially Mr. Romet from ICA, my old buddy, Ashwin, Norida, and Amelia from Sarawak. Actually, when we talk about the future, it's something that we have to put in our mind. What we want to anticipate for ourselves. I like to quote here, a quote by Jack Ma. I think everyone have read what he has said a couple of days ago. As far as the pandemic is concerned, for people in business, 2020 is really just a year for staying alive. Don't even talk about your dreams or plan. Just make sure you stay alive. If you can stay alive, then you have big mark as far as how we could go through this 2020 issue. Right from the beginning of this year, we already facing this COVID-19, which affecting all sectors. I have experience in 2001 when I was a director in tourism director in Singapore, where in November 2001, SARS hit those countries, China and also Singapore, which were the worst hit. Apparently, the border was empty at the time. The checkpoint in South Peninsula Malaysia was empty. So I was so worried because no movement from Singapore to Malaysia then. But I said, this is not something that I have to carry on because I have to do something to make sure that people still travel because we have to understand that our business 100% depending on the people movement. If people don't move, then we have no business. So this is something that we have to bear in mind when we talk about our future. We don't talk about the figure that we could raise, in terms of numbers of business loss. It's already accumulated billions of dollars worldwide. Airlines have lost totally their business for the last 3 months. No flights, mostly no flights is taken off from some of the world or the countries, except from their domestic flight, like in the US and China and so forth. So this is something that we have to bear in mind when we talk about our future, and then how we should plan our next strategy, our next plan, our next course of action in order to make our business still relevant. For this year, 2020, we already almost half a year gone and nothing. In fact, when we also talk about business event, if you look at the numbers of event being postponed or cancelled, mostly up to September already postponed. So we already have left about 3 months. But if the government impose MCOs until September or June of September, we have another 4 months to go on. But the Ministry of Health will impose another condition, no public gathering. So this will impact the business event totally, because our business also based on gathering. No gathering, then we have no business. So if this is happen, then the entire year, the business event sector will be gone. Then we have to really look into how to bring back the business again in 2021. This is a very tough area. I've never seen this before throughout my 35 years in the industry, but we have to relook. Some said reset, but I would like to say that we have to reboot once everything reset in 2021. So this is something that we have to, together think and how to bring back the business in 2021. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Datuk Sri. Just to allay some fears, we've got a Zoom bomber on the side. Please don't click on any of the links that are there. But I've already removed the person. Either she left herself, but yes, it's already been removed. So yes, you might get this because this is an open Zoom, but just don't click on any of the links. All right, so that's just a small advertisement we had there. Next one we'll have Ashwin. He's gonna share with us on the Penang part. So Ashwin, here you go.
Thank you, Mona, Place Borneo, for hosting this. Fellow panelists, Dato Sri Kani, Amelia from Sarawak, Norida, as well as Nong from IGA. And good morning, everyone. As for Penang, I think we pretty much share the similar sentiment worldwide. And we have been having similar talks for the past few weeks as well. And what I personally think is that the business events industry, or rather generically, if we look at tourism itself, it's far beyond the recovery stage. It has been way too damaged for us to even relook at a recovery phase, simply because then you are going to relook at your strategies, and the cost factor is another question on how you are going to revive again. So as far as Penang is concerned, I think we've taken the next step of rejuvenation. So we're looking at a new strategy altogether, at least for immediate recovery. Now, when I say immediate recovery is not going to happen anywhere close, even in the next 6 months to a year, because that's how badly or deeply we are damaged as an industry. I believe that the tourism industry itself is pretty much 10% of the global GDP. So having said that, it does constitute to an entire supply chain. So just as what Dr. Srikani has mentioned, goes right up to the airlines industry, and you're looking at the hotel industry. And what we really need to see here is basically striking a balance. And this is a balance between the host as well as the client, because you as a destination could fairly recover even faster than you're looking at your client's perspective from another corner of the world who is not recovered, or probably just partially through that stage of recovery. So personally, we feel that it will take time, definitely. We're estimating between easily 6 months to a year before even we could start getting back on track. So for what we really need to focus now is very much on the destination itself, our destination itself, be it Penang or even Malaysia as a nation. And the key is to build that safety measures, or rather confidence, which the client would then require. So on Penang's side, we do have several lineups and initiatives, and probably I do believe I will be sharing this on a much detailed perspective as we go along this session. Back to you, Mona. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ashwin. Okay, next one we have Miss Emilia. Let me just unmute you. Okay, Emilia, here you go.
All right, thank you, Mona. Good morning, Datuk Sri, Ashwin, Noreda, and Nor, and Uha, everyone. It is good to be here, and I am very excited to contribute to this discussion. We hope to learn and relearn from this platform and see how we can strengthen our collaboration for business event in Sarawak and also in Malaysia. Thank you.
Okay, that was a short one, Emilia. Thank you very much. We'll go into, I think you have a lot more to say later on during the discussion, yeah?
Definitely.
All right, okay. Next up, Norida, all the way from Sabah. Let's have a bit of your introduction.
Hello, good morning. Assalamualaikum. Datuk Sri Kani, Ashwin, Noor, Amelia, and of course, Mona, thank you very much for including us, Sabah, in this panel. We're very pleased, despite the current situation. For Sabah, as you all know, we are equally badly hit by the current situation, more so for our leisure travel. For MICE, basically, we've had MICE for a long time. However, we've just set up our Sabah International Convention Center has just been recently opened, despite the current scenario now. However, for us, air accessibility is very important for us. And right now, as you all know, we have a large number of air accessibility around the region, but due to the COVID crisis, it's almost nil now, or rather nil. We only have one week flight out of Kuala Lumpur too. So like what Datuk Sri Khani said earlier on, definitely 2020, it's a big loss to most of us, especially in the tourism industry, more so in the business industry. However, I think it will really test our resilience in this business, and more so for us, small player in nationally, even regionally. But we feel that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, although we don't know how long the tunnel is for us right now. But we are currently looking at ways to collaborate with our private sectors, especially more so with MICEP, with all the industry players in Malaysia. Ashwin is now leading us at the, I think, ICA Malaysia regional chapter. Congratulations, Ashwin. So we hope we'll be able to work closely with all of you, especially big players like Penang, Sarawak, and more so from Kuala Lumpur. So we look forward to that. Despite the doom and gloom we feel every day, we still have to get up and make sure that we're doing something, right? Be it we are doing gardening, be it we're cooking, but we're doing something. Either we're doing it for our family, for our colleagues, or for the industry. So we must persevere, we must be resilient, and I think with the guidance of ICA Malaysia too, I think the business industry will pull through. Let's have more optimism, I think, in us. Daily, I try to do that with the team too. And being in a panel with all of you today makes it more so, gives you more drive to continue being resilient in the industry. That's all for now. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Nareda. Yes, we are all doing a lot of things at home, including gardening. Next one, we have Noor. Now it's your turn to shine.
I'm not sure whether I should be shining here because we have all the beautiful ladies in the group. So the men, we are just part of this webinar. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank Mona for initiating this webinar. And also thank to all fellow distinguished panelists, Datuk Sri Khani, Amelia, Noreda, Ashwin, for being part of this. It's good to see that all the ICA members are in the same room. But most importantly, thank to all the audience for being with us this morning. We hope that there will be some takeaways that we can get from this particular session. For a start, maybe I just want to throw to the table that there are two levels that we need to start thinking in terms of the business event and how do we move to the future. One, at a global level, as you can see, the pandemic is really hurting all sort of businesses, including business event. There are some destinations has already started to open up. And as we can see, some of the best practices are already out there. So that's something that we as Malaysian can possibly learn so that we can quickly jumpstart our own business event industry. Secondly, I think on the national level, even though I'm presenting ICA, which is a global organization, I'm also a Malaysian, so Malaysian first. I think it is important for us to note that in terms of economy, of course, we have our biggest economic generator, such as petroleum, palm oil, finance, but the tourism and business event which come under tourism is one of the top 5 income earner for the nation. Therefore, I think the bureau that we have here and the industry as a whole need to come together and to work far more stronger than ever. In the past, maybe we can see there are pocket of activities, things being done by the bureau, and the private sector will go on their own to secure businesses. But with this situation in hand, we firmly believe that the relationship and the partnership between private sectors, public sectors, and all other sectors, especially if we're talking about the association business, the association themselves, the association community, the local association, the universities, the hospitals, the expert in the field need to come together and find a way how we can actually strategize your rebound strategy that Datuk Sri was mentioning earlier. I think that's very, very crucial because no destination can come up stronger than ever without a strong domestic collaboration. And I think we also need to learn very quickly because time is not on our side. As the MCO, we call it in Malaysia, being relaxed in some of the cities and states within the country. The question now to the business event industry, what are we going to do about it? Are we going just to wait and see, or are we going to be proactive and start putting some measures so that maybe the federal government can accept the business event and the tourism industry as important economic generator? So that's some of the questions I would like to throw to the table, and I hope that maybe we can get some question from the floor as well. Thank you, Mona.
Okay, thank you, Noor. Don't worry, I think we're going to get a lot of questions. But before we go into the questions, so far we haven't yet. We're going to questions later on. And as for the attendees, those newcomers, you can ask questions on YouTube as well and on Zoom here. We prefer that you type your questions on Q&A instead of raising your hand. So we will just entertain type questions. All right, so Ashwin, you mentioned just now that you see it recovering in 6 months to a year. That's quite optimistic, as some people actually see 2 years or beyond before the industry gets better. So I think the first question that a lot of people are asking is, what's the outlook for the BE industry for Malaysia as a BE destination in the next 6 months and in the next 1 year? Because I think a lot of business plans would go, 6 months and 1 year, we can't go beyond that. A lot of things are changing too fast. So maybe Ashwin, you want to start this off first. How do you see it in the next 6 months? What's the near future, and maybe in a year, what's going to happen?
Thanks, Mona. So when I was saying between 6 months to a year, now I was referring to one of the strategies that we have implemented for Penang. That is, and I believe that this could be a takeaway for everyone as well. Now, when I say 6 months to a year, I follow or fall back on a ripple effect model. So which means that we will be focusing very much on national business or domestic business first. I think we are all at a stage where we need to revive the national economy, Malaysia, Penang, and every other state that is. So it is only right that we start back from home ground to rejuvenate back our own platform, and be it business events or even tourism industry in general. So to revive our economy, so that will take about good 6 months to a year, even before we move out of the ripple effect into regional and globally, because as I mentioned earlier, it's a whole supply chain and everything is interconnected. So that's one of the methods that we are looking at, and we are focusing on. Yeah.
Okay. I think I would love to also hear from Datuk Sri as a BE destination, in the next 6 months to 1 year, how are you gonna, where are we heading? Maybe in terms of, bidding or even our internal industry itself.
Yeah, based on our experience before, as I mentioned earlier on, during SARS, it took the whole world to recover within 6 to 9 months. Uh, the pandemic started in November, it's end in June, that particular year in 2002. And then we only can start doing business properly when I was in Singapore in September. So 3 months after that, we do a lot of planning because our focus at that time is to bring as many Singaporeans to Malaysia as possible. So we managed to do that. Apparently, after that, we see a lot of movement from Singapore and from other parts of the world to Malaysia, simply because we tend to forget what had happened earlier. But I am not too sure about this COVID-19. That might, stick in our mind longer because of the issue. We could not get vaccines, to kill the virus yet. But to give some light in terms of what we could expect, because future we have to expect good thing. This year, we're supposed to have around 103 events, including convention, exhibition, and also incentive groups and meetings. But so far, 52 has been postponed. So 52 postponed, 11 has been cancelled. Okay, the 52 postponed, plus the other 44 they have still not decided what to do with it. We hope that we can bring it over to next year, right? So next year we already have around 40 over events that we already agreed to support. So all in all, we have about 100 over plus events already next year. Hopefully, the pandemic issue won't prolong to up to next year. As I said earlier, our business is really much depending on the movement of the people. And another aspect is, as what Emilia mentioned, is the accessibility, right? So if the airline still decided not to fly into Malaysia by then we still have problem to bring the participant from other parts of the world into Malaysia. So to develop our own, then we have to come into what Ashwin have said, into domestic. I had a discussion yesterday with my team, how we could develop our own resilience in this business event. So we have to focus into our domestic corporate sector. We have a lot of incentive group available in the country. And then when our border with neighboring country such as Singapore, Thailand, Brunei, Indonesia, in the Sarawak part open, then we should look into these countries for our business to come to Malaysia. Of course, it takes a lot of hard work for us, to rebuild their confidence to come back to our destination, and a lot of marketing activities that we have to do, in order to create their confidence level to our destination. But I will mention to you later what the Bureau has planned in order to bring back the business into Malaysia. Inshallah, if everything, or the Ministry of Health announced that the gathering can start, then we could immediately, can host the first group after COVID-19, inshallah.
Thank you, Dato' Sri. I would also love to hear from Noor from the association business perspective. In terms of 6 months to a year, have you got any feedback from the associations that you're dealing with? What do they expect?
Thank you, Mona, for the national associations. We track all the meeting organized by international associations that rotates within at least 3 different countries, and that's what ICA has been doing. And that's how our members, including bureaus, venues, PCOs, are able to track the type of conferences, international meetings that they can bid and secure for their respective destination. Having said that, for 2020, there are almost 4,400 plus international association meetings that will be happening around the world. And of course, earlier part of the year, in January and February, when the pandemic started in China, we saw a lot of postponement, cancellation happening only around those particular Northern Asia region. And we also did a bit of tracking. And as a result, we have published a report, which you can find on our website, icaworld.org, whereby about almost 18% of the meeting has been affected. That is as of 12th of March. But when 13th of March, when the World Health Organization has declared the new coronavirus as pandemic and has named it as COVID-19, and by that time, it has the effect has been felt all over the world. Rest assured for us, there's not so much need for us to track which meeting has been cancelled, postponed anymore. It goes without saying. So obviously, worldwide, this has a profound effect. And I don't think we have the answer to when the meeting will start happening again, because there are a few key areas that people will consider. Number one, whether do you have the vaccine? Without vaccine, I don't think anybody can go back to our normal life, even though we are living with a new norm at the moment. Secondly, even with the vaccine, we have to look at the travel restrictions imposed by the respective countries, cities, states, provinces all around the world, because not all destinations will fully cure themselves. Some will take a longer time than others, because we're dealing with different countries, different nationalities, countries with different economic strength. Obviously, those that has the economic willpower, maybe they after they having the vaccine, I suppose that they can quickly recover. But others might take some time. So there's no general outlook that the whole world will come back quickly at the same time. We also need to look at for each destination. For example, Malaysia, you need to take inventory, just like what Datuk Sri mentioned just now. How many meetings that you're supposed to host this year? So it's very important for you to go back to that number and to communicate clearly with the meeting planners, with associations, with incentive planners, that Malaysia will be ready for you when all these things is over. I think the big question now is that we have already seen trend, very much like what Ashwin mentioned, that their plan is going on for the next 6 months to start rebuilding the domestic economy. So what we're talking here is how Malaysian could behave during this pandemic, but with this relaxation of the MCO, how the industries, in particular business event, can take part in this economic sector. As we all know, when the Prime Minister announced last Friday, persidangan, that's a word being used, is one of the area that's still not allowed. Obviously, that's understandable, because any meeting that's more than 50 people, most of the country in the world are still having this particular restrictions. But there are already countries in Asia where they are now relaxing. To give you a quick example, we saw that in Chinese Taipei, they have already allowed hotels allowed to operate, and if you have groups more than below 50 people, you can have them in convention centers or even hotel. But you need to observe the social distancing. You need to have the SOP. These are all man-made. In countries like China, of course, they have opened up, and of course, if you look at Singapore, they have taken up with the initiative called the SG Clean. If you Google SG Clean, you will find out that the government, through the Environment Ministry, has clearly put up 7 key points of how venues, hotels, operators can get themselves to be audited, and then for you to get the certification of SG Clean. Once you have the SG Clean, that means your business can can be fully operational, taking into consideration of the condition and the SOP that you have put in place. I think this is a time that what I mentioned earlier on, we do not need the government to tell us what to do, because it will take time, because they have a lot of other areas that's far more important, the other economic sector. But the business event sector, if we work together with our private sector, we can come up with this methodology of how we can actually start operating. And we show this to the government and get the approval from the MKN, from the health ministry. I'm sure that the government will say, yes, we will allow the business event, especially the domestic tourism, to start again. So once you're able to start your domestic tourism, then eventually when the COVID-19 is over, a vaccine is found, I think Malaysia will be one of the destinations that is really ready for the international platform. That's my view on this.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. You spoke about the new normal, but we'll go into that. I think I want to listen to what the Borneo side is thinking about for the next 6 months to a year. So what do we expect? And we also have a question from Tristan actually saying, how is it that we're going to collaborate to sell Sarawak and Sabah as Borneo itself? Is there a plan for that? In terms of tourism, we're very similar. And do you see that coming? But before that, Emilia, maybe you want to add, what do you see in the next 6 months to a year for the PE industry?
Thank you, Mona. I agreed with what the panelists has said just now on the situation where we are, in Malaysia and in for the COVID-19, and it is going to be a very trying time for Malaysia as a whole, and especially when we do not know how long the pandemic will be and what are the potential restriction on future events and mass gathering. So just like what North said just now, what we must do as an industry, we can collaborate with each other. And we also can expand our collaboration to non-business event sectors to rebuild our industry. As we know in our business, it takes the whole village to ensure the success even for just one event. I believe that in 6 months' time, the industry would have started to implement their recovery plan and also figuring out what needs improving. And hopefully in a year, the business event industry will progress with ongoing business. And as I say this, I am positive that we will see the new normal being put in place for every businesses. Thank you.
Thanks, Emilia. I think that's a really good point. Our collaboration is not just within the industry, but also beyond the industry. I think that's quite interesting. Before we go further, I think Noreda, would you like to add anything from the Sabah point of view?
Thanks, Mona. I concur with everyone. Definitely recovery may seem to be far away, but perhaps the last quarter of the year may see some improvement, and be it relatively slow. And we also have to consider global practices on travel and availability of connectivity, especially for us on Borneo. We need the connectivity. We need the routes, the air accessibility, be it for leisure as well as business. And so we have to look at all this. And of course, we have to be prepared with changes. We need to reinvent ourselves and observe the new SOP, the new norm, looking at the safety as well as the hygiene practices that our players are going to roll out individually or holistically. And definitely, I think, like what let's look around and also adopt and adapt to the situation. Doing our own recovery plan now, things are very fluid. Day by day, as you all know, things are changing. We get updates every hour, every minute, or day by day, things are different. So we have to be very fluid in our thinking, in our mindset. We have to be flexible too. be able to adapt to the current situation, be it new norm or otherwise. But that's how we should be moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Norida. And since we're talking about a lot about collaboration, and I think a few of you guys mentioned that, I'm just going to go into this question by Tristan. He would like to understand what sort of synergy STB, Sabah Tourism Board, and the Sarawak Convention Bureau would like to put together in order to promote Borneo as a new and alternative MICE destination. Both states have a strong USP, which is eco-environment, strong identity. How can we put together a marketing strategy and work closely with all related associations or stakeholders? Any ideas on that? Noreda, maybe you'd like to start.
Okay. Thanks, Tristan, for the question. I feel that Borneo, both Sabah and Sarawak have always had their own advantage. We are special in a lot of ways, but we also can complement each other. Yeah. If we have the highest mountain in Malaysia, you have the biggest cave in the world, So there's always a complementary side of it. So we must always work and collaborate and take advantage of what we have and how we can complement each other. If we're strong on islands and beaches, but you are strong on culture, we put it together. I think we'll be together. We are stronger, and together we can make it out there. So yeah.
Emilia, anything to add to that? This collaboration between Sabah and Sarawak for Borneo.
All right. Thank you so much, Mona, Noreda, and Tristan. Well, actually, the collaboration, we had the collaboration previously, even before the pandemic, but it was in a very mild manner, especially in our corporate meeting and incentives, where we combine the itinerary from Sarawak to Sabah or from Sabah to Sarawak. However, this is, I would like to thank Tristan. This is something that I think Noreda and Noreda team and my team, like we should sit down and look into this opportunity. Like what Noreda said just now, we complement each other, and definitely we can find a strength there where we can work together to forge a strong collaboration.
I think, yeah, thanks, Emilia. And I think this would come in very handy when we bid for business events. And how do we go into bids together in terms of Sabah Sarawak as a Borneo team instead of bidding as Sarawak or bidding as Sabah? I think that's quite interesting. And I just like to go into the next, I think this is some of the next questions. How do we move forward with bidding for Malaysia as a business events industry? How do we remedy this situation where a lot of people might not be ready to consider a destination, but biddings usually take maybe 2 to 3 years. By then you'll be ready. But what can we tell our clients that we are ready? How do we do that? Datuk Sri, maybe you'd like to start on that.
Yeah, I just like to go back a bit in terms of collaboration that we have discussed just now. I think the collaboration that we should look into is not only between ourselves within the country. We have a link with other institutions around the region and around Asia, because we have association that can give us input and also some shares business, the spillover business. You have to bear in mind in the future there will be a lot of postponement that going to carry forward. Some of them be carried forward to next year. It will happen in Thailand. It will happen in Singapore. It will happen in Malaysia, as I mentioned earlier. So this is something that we have to work together with our neighboring countries on how we can, tap business together into our region. This is a very crucial part. We have Africa that we can work with, and then also we have institution within ASEAN that we are in the bureau in the group. So I will throw this idea so that we can work together to bring business into our region. So when people start looking at the region as the venue or the place for them to come, then we all will get all the benefits. This is very important for us to to put in our mind when we plan or when we strategize our marketing plan in the future, especially for the venues, because we cannot go alone at all. As far as bidding is concerned, we are already come up with a few plans. This is anticipate that the pandemic will, over by next year. So before that, we have to keep continuing telling our partners around the world, the associations, the potential business people to come to Malaysia. Like I think the industry already in the know that we are coming up with a program Let's Meet tomorrow. So this Let's Meet Tomorrow is a program that MySEP is creating to give a lot of incentive to the international meeting organizers or conference organizers to choose Malaysia as their destination when everything is over. So we need a lot of support from the industry partners, especially from the venues, from the hotel, the integrated resorts that we can work with to throw our package, special package for them to, for us to entice them to come to Malaysia. This is very important. And then as we also discuss about, creating our own resilience, with our own local program. So we have a program called Let's Meet Locally. That's another one. So this is similarly that we are going to come up with all packages available, and then we need all the support from you all for us to bring them back to the venues and organize the event again, after COVID over. And another event or program that I'm creating is to create a homegrown event. So this homegrown event probably it takes a long time to be popular as what happened to, what is that, in Sarawak, the Rainforest Music Festival. So this is good example that we have our own local event that we have managed to bring international participant to our show. So we have to create ourselves also here, in Malaysia, in order to bring more numbers of participants into Malaysia. And as we're talking about incentive group, in Malaysia, we have a lot of companies that can help us, to bring the incentive group to our destination. We have like, if I can give example, we have CNI group. They are regionally, popular, and then they have all the dealers around the region. So why don't we work with them? And then, they are based here in Malaysia, and then also in Indonesia, and then they are in Singapore, in Brunei, in Vietnam. A lot of distributors there. So in future, we can work with them to bring this kind of group to Malaysia. Zulia already, helped us bringing about 10,000 participants from Thailand last year. So we could take from Brunei, from Indonesia, from Singapore. So we don't go far yet. We look at surrounding us in order for us to reboot or start our business again in future. So this is something that I think we should look into when we strategize our plan, our business plan for the future.
Thank you, Datuk Sri. I do like that point you raised about marketing the region instead of marketing just a country. And I think that's a really a good opportunity for us to work together with the other countries. They have some spillover business, or you can work together for even one event for a few countries to organize. And I like that to focus, when we go back to bidding, we focus on the regional events instead of international events, because we have challenges right now in terms of travel. So obviously a lot of people will not still be keen to consider even coming to this region for their events. So what we can do is we focus on the regional events. I think that's a fantastic idea. From the association point of view, Noor, do you have any feedback from them in terms of bidding? What are they looking for countries that are going to bid for their events?
I think this is a very difficult question, indeed, Mona. But I would make an assumption. I can't confirm this, but I would assume that a lot of international association will not open their bid at the moment. They will delay their bidding process because of the uncertainty. When the bid process is open, one of the key factor is a proposed date. When can you host the particular international conference or regional conference? But at this point of time, I don't think any destination in the world would be able to give a proposed date. So in that regards, I don't think any bidding process will be done. But even if they are done, I'm sure there's a lot of condition in terms of proposing the actual date for the event. So I think that they're going to be a huge challenge for international association. And as you know, that a lot of association also decide their conferences far in advance. Even like ICA, we have decided on our event for 2021. So we are opening up our 2022 bidding process. But again, that process has also been delayed because of the uncertainty that we are all now experiencing. If I may, Mona, I saw there's one question about from El Chan about the SOP, that like what I mentioned, the SG Clean. Please don't get me wrong. I think what Singapore did is fantastic. But again, we have to understand the dynamic of Singapore being a city state. It's a country with a smaller population compared to Malaysia. And as what we are experiencing right now, situation in Kuala Lumpur might be relaxed, but the situation in Kuching, for example, might still be under observation. We have different red zone, green zone area all over the country because we are much larger than Singapore. But I think it's still important if the industry can come up together and say to the government, we have this proposal in place, how our industry can come back together. Please allow us to start doing business, whether you are PCO or your hotel or convention centers. These are the steps that we're going to take to ensure the safety of our clients. Then it'll be okay. We have seen another good example is Korea. I'm sure that a lot of people have seen how Korea, they are not that badly affected, except for the city of Daegu, where they had the religious group cluster. But once they have contained the situation in Daegu, even Daegu today now become a green area. Domestically in Korea, they allow people to travel. So a lot of domestic travel between Seoul to Busan to Jeju and whatnot. But they don't encourage people to travel in large group. So the social distancing are still taken into effect. But what I'm saying here, the community, the people who are involved, and also the people in the industry work together to ensure that the safety is the most important part. I think, and they can even have an election during this pandemic. So that says a lot about how disciplined they are. I'm not sure many other countries would be able to run an election during a pandemic. And people are having the social distancing. This is an amazing feat that they have done.
I think a lot of countries will take the opportunity not to run an election during the pandemic. It will be an excuse, a good excuse for them to escape,
Obviously.
I guess. And I like the part you mentioned about having an SOP. Actually, we have the business events task force, which actually encompasses a few of the industry players. We've got SCB, MICEP's actually the one heading this. And we are actually working on an SOP industry-wide to see if everyone can put in their input, and then we can use this as an SOP for everyone to use for future events, for bidding, for venues, for everything. So we do have that. I think it's still underway right now. It hasn't been confirmed yet. Now, talking about bidding, going back to bidding again, yes, right now a lot of bidding has been put on hold. Even our own bidding has been postponed to well, indefinitely. They haven't told us a time yet when we can submit. But once they do open up again for bidding, say in the next 6 months, what would they want? I think that's the question is what would these countries want to see or these organizers want to see? Ashwin, do you have any input from your bid exercises that you have?
Right. um, what's important at this present moment when you're securing business is the confidence level, the destination confidence. I think uh, it's right to put ourselves in their shoes as well. I mean, if you're proceeding with a particular event, then uh, I would definitely want a guarantee or a confidence that it's safe for me uh, to run my show. So that is one, and we really have to act fast in such responses. Of course, collaboration is a very good initiative. That is where we are looking at as well. But the responses uh, towards the confidence is rather very important, because if you look at the tourism industry, I'm just sharing, probably just slightly sidetracking off to some of the webinars that I've attended over the past couple of weeks. Now, tourism is not being put as a primary sector because I think the world is more damaged towards politically, financially, as well as economically. So, these are all the main criteria currently being resolved where tourism is being put on hold, or rather not primary, um, which personally I don't think it's a right move, because there needs to be a balanced development. And when you speak of balanced development, you're speaking of uh, sustainability of a particular destination's economy. So that's very important. So having said that, all of this have to be in line, which means that um, even a collaboration internally, which means you're looking at a formation of a task force, and a task force between the public and the private sectors. And when I say private sectors, it involves the entire line of those whom are involved within the industry, or who may even be able to contribute towards the industry. So all these little elements are very important to be looked at, and from there onwards is only where we can put through um, a paper, or rather a statement on building that particular confident level. So that particular confident level goes to a detailed breakdown of various SOPs on venues, SOPs on even hotels, SOPs on suppliers, SOPs on the bureaus, SOPs on bidding processes, um, and SOPs on the destination itself. So all of this have to be put in place, and this is what your client would want to see, because you're pretty much ready to open your destination and you're confident that we are uh, there to restart again.
Thanks. And talking about SOPs, I think there's a question from Didi saying that would there be any access to any SOPs from maybe other convention bureaus or any countries that we might be able to look at as examples that we can follow? I don't know, Ika or Mindset, do you have access to any other SOPs that we can refer to?
So far, for me, for myself, I haven't got a chance to look at any other SOP from other country. I've been trying to get from Thailand, Singapore, but SOP that have been developed together with my SEOs and PCAM, for Malaysia, is actually at the final stage. I already sent it to National Security Council for getting through, which last week, hopefully, there are a few questions they're asking us on the SOP, which already gave a feedback. And I'm hoping that this SOP can be announced as soon as possible, so that, we create the confidence level to the international travelers to come to Malaysia for business event activities. So this is something that we are working on together with Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Art and Culture. But it takes a bit longer because the number that we are pushing, for the next gathering. MKN only look at 250, but we want to have more. I'm pushing for 500, starting with 500 packs, so that we can have a better business, activities in Malaysia in the future. So hopefully, when we get this SOP from other country, we could share with stakeholders. Inshallah.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think talking about SOPs, I think that would be a great element that we can put in the bidding document or when we bid. Obviously, other countries will be working on the same thing. They would have their strategies and their campaigns to sell their destination. So, what will be our unique selling proposition when we bid? What will be our marketing angle when we go into bidding, considering that all the other countries will be talking about all these the same SOPs, the cleanliness, hygiene, and all that. How do we set ourselves apart? And I'm still talking about bidding. Obviously, yes, it's important for us to nurture local events, domestic events, like how Ashwin mentioned. I think that goes without saying for the short term. But for the long term, we still need to bid for international events. That's our bread and butter. Emilia, would you like to share how Sarawak goes about marketing? I think we're quite pretty good in terms of marketing or unique selling proposition. And in this current situation, how do we set ourselves even more different from the other destinations? Can you unmute yourself first? Yep.
Right, thanks, Mona. Just like what you said, every destination will be having the same plan, aiming to reassure on safety, strengthening funding support, and revamping their marketing and sales effort, in order to generate more business leads and also to win more business. One thing that, what works, I believe that we need to be consistent in all of our messages and we need to deliver what we have promised. And we also need to be adaptable with any situation, flexible in our strategies and policies, and we have to be quick in making decisions in order to face this challenging time. Because we know this, COVID-19 development is uncertainty for all of us. So be adaptable, be flexible, and we have to be quick in order, to get more business. And everyone also will be aiming for domestic and homegrown events. And, interstate, it will be a kind of like a friendly competition. And, as domestic and homegrown events also, that will be our priority too. However, I would like to bring it back to what Encik Noor has said just now about the international association, international business, and what you have brought up also, Mona, about the international events, where the leads required longer time in conversion to an actual event. We can, we hope to collaborate with association like ICA, yes, Encik Noor, to explore the possibility and feasibility of virtual site inspection and bidding. At the moment, we have no study on this, and we don't know what the international, national, association are up to. Although this platform, actually this platform was available before the pandemic, and our association. However, the requests for normal site inspection and bidding are more popular. Perhaps that this is something that we all can collaborate, and this is worth for us, I think, to look into.
Okay. I think that's great. Virtual site inspection, obviously, because bidding, they'll need to come over and see your destination. There's a lot of platform actually for that. Like you rightfully said, Emilia, and actually they have had this before the pandemic even. So now it's just a matter of us utilizing it. Noor, to this?
Yes.
Did you want to add anything to setting the destination apart from other destinations who would probably have the same strategic intent, hygiene, SOPs, and all that? So how do we make ourselves different with everyone having the same SOPs?
I think beyond the SOPs that I've already mentioned earlier on, I think that is something that's very important because that's the fundamental of the providing the safety for the delegates, for whether there's domestic delegates or regional or international delegates for business events. But I think in light of what Amelia has mentioned, obviously ICA we would like to support Malaysia as we are based here. And so many questions being asked why ICA is in Malaysia instead of other countries in the region. So we started the office through a bidding process. 3 countries bid for ICA office, that is Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. And Tourism Malaysia at that point of time won that particular bid. And that's how ICA has been in Malaysia, and we will be staying here for a longer period of time, hopefully. Even though there's a lot of invitation from other countries with a stronger economy trying to lure us to move our office to their respective destination. But I think the key point here that we need to address is that, in fact, this initiative that you have done, Mona, in terms of bringing in all the convention bureau in Malaysia, from ISAP, Penang, Sarawak, and Sabah together under one platform in this discussion today, that's already a very good start. This initiative is not done by the government, but by an individual, by a private sector. So we have to acknowledge what you have done today. That's very important. I think if we compare Malaysia to other destinations within the region, we don't have to go that far into Europe or North America. In Asia, for example, if we look at Thailand, there's only one National Convention Bureau. If we look at Indonesia, there's only one Ministry of Tourism. If we look at Thailand, Singapore, there's only one Singapore Convention and Exhibition Bureau. Same thing with Philippines. But in Malaysia, you have the National Convention Bureau and you have the State Convention Bureau. I think this is the opportune time, more than ever, that all these Convention Bureau can come together with one voice, not only uniting as Convention Bureaus in the country, but also uniting to promote the product and services that your suppliers or your private sectors can provide to the domestic and international community. So this is the opportune time for us all Malaysians to come together instead of breaking apart. So that's why I think it's important for us to acknowledge that we have so many bureaus. Of course, you will be competing among each other. Sarawak will be competing head on with Sabah and Penang. But again, the question that I think Tristan have asked earlier on: how could, for example, Sabah and Sarawak promote your destination as a Borneo destination? I think this is something that you have to do today, or in fact yesterday, because as we know, Indonesia will be moving their capital from Jakarta to Kalimantan. Imagine if the plan without COVID, I think now they're talking about delaying the opening of the capital city in Kalimantan. Imagine if they open up the capital city in Kalimantan, how much budget resources are going to be put to promote Kalimantan and Indonesia. So obviously, suddenly the whole Borneo become a new story. It's no longer Malaysia, but Borneo is known as Indonesia because capital city is there. So I think this is the opportunity that we have to look at. We have that. We have brilliant people on the Convention Bureau today. I think it's a question of what should we do next? How do we interact with our private sector? And like what Datuk Sri mentioned just now, how do we collaborate with our partners around the region? Because we shouldn't be looking inward to ourselves only, but we also have to look at regionally, and also how do we collaborate with international organizations such as ICA and any other association. So this is a big question. It's not about just we are talking here today and not doing anything, but this is something that we really have to, after this conversation, sit down together and say that let us do 1, 2, or 3 things together. I think that's very important for all of us to take it forward, not just a conversation.
Mona, I just like to add on what Nomad is saying. In terms of confidence level, creating a confidence level for our destination. I think we have to look into what Ministry of Affairs have been doing. If you look at the health system around the world, I've read this report before COVID-19. We are among the top in the world Among 65 countries around the world, we are sitting at number 16, one of the best health system in the world, ahead of Thailand and Singapore. So, and then currently, during this pandemic, the fatality rate also very low for us. The recovery rate very high. So this is something that we have to bear in mind. We have to thank Minister of Health for a very good system that they have developed to protect our people from pandemic, this kind of pandemic. In fact, some tourists that are stranded in Malaysia, they're willing to stay here on, rather than going back to their own country because they feel safe here in this country. So this is a very good sign for us. We have to leverage on this. And also, as what Norbert is saying about collaboration between, our convention bureau within the country. Actually, I already had in mind before this to have one booking center for all the venues, so that the international association, meeting planners who want to check for availability of venues, they can come to one center and then look around the venues around Malaysia. So this is something that we have to develop. Of course, it will take some investment into it to integrate between venues around Malaysia, so that people can come to one center and then go to all the venues. So hopefully it can happen very soon. We have a lot of justification now to establish that, in order to bring more business to our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato' Sri. There was also a comment, I'm not sure if it's a question. Are we being overcautious in this? And I think it's pretty clear. It's better to be overcautious than to be undercautious, and then you risk, having a bad image in the international front. And I don't think I can post. I need to post that question to all of you because it's pretty apparent. Now, based on your convention bureaus or board research and all that, are there any new trends that are upcoming in terms of events that us business need to look out for our future planning? So when we are doing our recovery plan, should we say invest more in technology, which is pretty obvious? Any other things that we could get from these new upcoming trends post COVID? Anyone would like to start?
If I may, very quickly, Mona, I think
Yeah.
it is very obvious that everything is going on virtual now. And I think the trend that we're going to foresee in the coming months or in the early part of 2021 is that it will be a hybrid event. That is without doubt. And the reason why a lot of international organizers are going into a hybrid event is because they understand that when situation has been relaxed, it will not be the same in all over the world. Some countries are still going to have the pandemic at a different level to other countries. Some countries will be having their opening up far more sooner than other parts of the world. Therefore, having hybrid event will provide the opportunity of the event to be still carried out face to face, with a limited number of people who are able to travel to that particular destination, and a larger group of people who are not able to travel would join the meeting virtually. So, definitely the element of hybrid is very important. I just want to also mention to what Dato' Sri talk about how Malaysia also have one of the best medical facilities in this part of the region. I think when we talk about the collaboration earlier on, I think we need to discount for the fact that Malaysia has done pretty well in a lot of areas. But I think these are the point that we need to take up as people in the industry, not just depending on the Convention Bureau to communicate this to the planners around the world. Things like, for example, Malaysia Airport, for example, they have already put in place all the safety measures for people in the airports to operate. And if you talk about airline, I'm sure that all of you have read that Air Asia is the first airline in the region that have started their cabin crew to work using the PPE. The PPE is being designed by one of the world famous designer from Philippines, from Los Angeles. But that shows that the airline has a vision to continue their operation domestically and eventually regionally. because a lot of people that are still stuck within the different countries that Asia can help to bring back to their respective destination. It's not just like bringing the student from Sabah back to KL or from KL to Sarawak, but also from other parts. But I think there's an opportunity there, and I think Malaysians are very innovative in that respect. We need to work much more harder toward that.
Thanks. Yeah, hybrid events is all the phase right now. I think everyone's talking about hybrid events and virtual events. Ashwin, any input from you guys?
I believe three industries that will definitely be taking the lead post this pandemic would definitely, yes, be the technology. Second, you will definitely look at the medical as well as the medical science faculty, as well as the pharmaceutical industries. So these are all the key industries that will be taking the lead for very obvious reasons. And partly would also be the education sector or the research sector, relevant to all of these mentioned industries.
Okay, yeah, I think that is actually in line also with a few of the comments that we had from BE partners around the world. We had that session last week, and they were mentioning the same thing. There's going to be a trend towards virtual events or hybrid events, a trend towards smaller or domestic homegrown events, and obviously a trend towards the topic concerning medical or mental health. So that could be the next new trend that we can see in business events. Now, you mentioned just now in terms of you have homegrown event support from in Penang and PSEP. How does that go about for the industry players in Penang?
Okay, so what we've done is firstly, we've started, or rather, the state government has started a task force, and we've already had the first meeting. Again, this is a virtual meeting. This is between the state government involving both the leisure tourism body as well as the business events, us, and the entire industry. So we've got a good number of 100 industry partners. And I'm not talking about IPP partners, but generally the industry itself. And this is the task force that has been put ahead, where we are trying to understand their problems, their situations, at the same time for them to understand what our direction is and where we are moving forward. So, having said that, the strategies are being laid down accordingly, and we will need the support from the industry likewise in order for us to move this together. So one of the key things, I think I have answered a question online as well. What kind of support programs that we are offering in that sense? We do have a Privilege Penang program, which has been there for a while now. And due to this current situation, we are launching a new program that's called Enhanced Privilege Penang. So much more incentives that are given to industry partners. We are even looking at supporting meetings, national meetings, or even be it regional or global meetings, from as low as 20 persons. So this is coming back to a point that Dr. Shrikani made earlier. To what extent of numbers will we be able to be hosting in a particular destination for a meeting? So taking that into account, we have somewhat tabulated as minimum as 20 packs onwards, and we will be able to provide this particular support structure. So that is one, and I think my answer also covers one of the questions that asks on how are we communicating with the stakeholders. So that's the task force that we have started, and this will be an ongoing task force. So the first meeting was chaired by the Chief Minister himself, together with the relevant excos within the industry itself. So moving forward, PSET will start our own task force with the BE partners and the industry moving forward and contributing back to the main task force that was set up by the state.
Thanks, Ashwin. Yeah, since these questions, these questions, actually, there's two questions, are targeted to bureaus. I think I'll go next to Emilia. How are you communicating with your stakeholders apart from the usual newsletters and industry updates? And can you share some marketing strategies? And the next question was about the homegrown events and smaller events, and how are you guys going to support that in the local industry?
Okay. I have 3 questions to answer.
Yeah.
Right. I will take up the first one. Oh, all right. Okay. Before I answer the question, actually, I want to add on when it comes to the trend just now. I was waiting for my turn. So, is it okay for me to add
Yes.
on?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yes. Go ahead.
All right. I think one of the, we can follow the trend or we can set the trend. So, I foresee that business events to be far more crucial than ever because we are the sector that revolves around finding solution to an existing problem through research and through sharing. COVID-19 is a global crisis, and there will certainly be plenty of conventions topic surrounding this. And I think it is time for all of us to leverage on the legacy impact and explore more on how business events can deliver its business impact beyond just a visitor number. Because as you can see, for the past before COVID, for the past 1 or 2 years, ICA itself and PCMA and a lot of the bureau around the world are moving with this movement on the legacy impact, and I think we should leverage on it because this is the best. This is the perfect time to leverage on legacy impact. And the second one is that to insert, how do we keep in touch with our industry partners? Beside industry partners, with everyone, even with the BE, a non-BE sector. I think is for this time, for the first 6 months, we will see there will be a lot of virtual meeting and hybrid meeting, perhaps after MCO has been lifted. And for the international industry, of course, virtual meeting is still going to be an option. And to, the other thing also, with all of the significant relevant new approach, that we have taken to mitigate and recover our business events sector in Sarawak, all of the plan that we have included the industry partners, included the alliances that we have, and also the most important thing is, of course, our client. So, instead just having a webinar or the hybrid meeting, there's a lot of things that, we can collaborate. So I would like to share with you on the approaches that we have. The first one, what we have done is that we have revamped our Business Events Sarawak 12 Malaysian Plan proposal because the 12 Malaysian Plan will be started in 2021 and to 2025. And we can foresee that perhaps the development of the COVID, we will still have to consider until 2021 or 2022. And we also have revamped our strategic and tactical planning for 2020, which includes adding value and updating new and existing support from Sarawak government funding that include also the homegrown seed funding for business event. And I believe that the Sarawak government is also looking into, which the one that Maseo's Sarawak regional branch working on right now is you guys are proposing the homegrown seed funding for major event. In terms of marketing and business development, we want to maintain our market share and develop more business leads, training and capacity building. And of course, it will be conducted via online platform. And of course, like strengthen our existing external communication and collaboration, such as the one that we have talked about earlier, about the SOP, COVID-19 precautionary SOPs and guidelines for organizers and supplier. And the second question here is wondering what's the best communication strategies. I think I have answered this just now. What any strategy on meeting size? Past few years talking about new norm distancing, there's something about selecting meeting to be. Do we have the capacity space to host large meeting for the first COVID? I think it goes back to the approval, from the SOP and the guideline for organizing an event and mass gathering. It's a bit too early for me to comment on this. However, we will work on it, and definitely, safety will be the first concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've actually gone beyond our time by about 25 minutes. But we can discuss anything else. We don't have any more questions, and I don't see any more questions from YouTube as well. Do you guys have anything else to add before we end?
Okay.
Yeah, Datuk Sri, go ahead.
Go on, Datuk. Go ahead.
Okay, I just like to highlight here, as far as the Bureau is concerned, the future of business event is very crucial for our tourism industry. Okay? Simply, this sector contributes triple in terms of income as compared to leisure business. So we have to make sure that business event continue to contribute to our economic growth. We also already, invested. Most of the government, state government invested in this sector by building the venues for conferences, for convention, and so forth. So we cannot let it empty for a long time. I just like to highlight here, before the MCO was announced by the government on the 18th of March, myself together with the Minister of Health host this Ottawa conference in Kuala Lumpur. Okay, I just want to relate on how this happened. We're supposed to have around 1,600 participants, but end up we only have about 800. Some from coming from far, but most of the participants from other parts of the world, they prefer to have streaming online to their country. So we only have 800. I just like to highlight here and to stress here that this business, as I mentioned earlier, is about people's movement, right? So we built the venue to fill with people. If we go for hybrid, for instance, or we are pushing for webinar or whatnot, to continue for a long time, then we will see our venue maybe fill only half of it. So this is not good for the venue. So we have to make sure that people keep coming to our show to have convention. But as we discussed earlier, that we have to create confidence among them that we are doing our level best to make sure that they are, be safe if they are having their events here in Malaysia. We will do our best to make sure that their safety, their health be taken care of when they are here. So this is very important for all our international partners, our stakeholders to look into, because we also have to take care of our suppliers. Remember that without people here, without events happening here, the suppliers will gone from their business. So we have to look into this. Myself, we as a national bureau, for this year, I don't think so we would spend money for bidding. Because as Mr. Nomad said, most of the association won't open any bidding any bids for us to go into. So this particular fund that I could save for this year, I will fight with the Minister of Finance to keep it for us to do as a reassurance campaign to support the industry, to create the confidence level among the international participants about our destination, so we can have them to come back again to Malaysia as soon as we lifted the whole thing and then the flight start flying to Malaysia. So with that, I would like to thank Mona and other distinguished panelists, for our discussion today. And hopefully, we could come together to work together as a team in order to promote our BE sector, and to contribute to our national economy. Thank you.
Thanks, Datuk Sri. Ashwin, you wanted to say something earlier.
Yeah, I would just like to add on to I think two of the pointers that were highlighted. Firstly was the hybrid meetings as well as the virtual inspections, etc. So Penang itself as a destination through the initiative of the Penang state government is highly investing on digitalization of the destination. So again, this is being implemented to all relevant subsidiaries of the government as well as the GLCs, and PSAP will be in line with this vision of digitalization, and rightfully said that yes, we will be looking at virtual tours and virtual biddings. So all of these are in line as part of the strategy to answer one of the questions there. And we do welcome ideas as well, because we have had several suppliers approaching us with ideas, and if this could be potential to develop a portion of the business events industry. And yes, we very much welcome ideas, creative ideas to rebuild back this industry as far as the digitalization component is concerned.
Thanks, Ashwin. I'm just seeing a very last minute question from YouTube about existing business events or homegrown events, but I think um, this one will be more on the detail or the mechanism of how are you going to give out your aids or your stimulus. I think all the bureaus and the tourism board, they will have some sort of stimulus fund for homegrown events, whether it is existing or it is new. So this was asked by Anita Jacobson from YouTube. I think would be best if you approach your relevant bureau for you to ask how your homegrown event will be supported by the state. And I'm sorry we don't have time to go through all the other questions. We've got a lot of new questions, not a lot, we've got a few questions coming in. I would suggest you channel those questions directly to the bureaus. I think you can just email to them directly either on their Facebook or on their website. And also from outside, you can email to us info@placeborneo.com, and we can channel it to them if you want to, or just drop us a direct message on our Facebook. We have come to an end to our session, and I thank all the speakers. Unless you have anything else to add, I'll end here before everyone starts leaving us. We've gone a bit too far beyond the time already. And for those celebrating Ramadan, selamat berpuasa, Ramadan Kareem to all. And for the rest of you, have a good day ahead, and see you. Tomorrow we have a session by Masios, which is Exhibitions Key to Rebuilding Economies. So it will be 3 to 4 p.m. Tomorrow. And that will be, I think, Datuk Sri Khani, you will also be in there, yeah?
That's right.
Yeah, so we'll see you there tomorrow, and see you
Okay.
all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mona. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mona. Thank you,
you, everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.